I guess whenever you want, yeah, we can just start.
Yeah, we should start. I'm sure many people will watch the recording, so that's fine. So, or maybe they will join during the presentation. So you're gonna be aware if people wants to join. Yeah, Nadia.
Yes, yes, I will check that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining or watching this webinar in replay. My name is Marie-Evlaure. I'm one of the co-founder of the Digital Nomad Colombia Association. I'm with Nadia, and the other co-founders, I think, are watching also. And we are also with our one of our dear partner, César Castro. Because today, as you know, we're going to talk about this, all the updates about this new digital nomad visa. New, it's been 3 years, but there's so many updates all the time. It's almost like it's new. And so this is our third webinar about it. And we have a lot of content to share. So before we start with César, maybe we should just like, for the people that don't know about the association yet, let's recall our mission, which is to connect, guide, and inspire nomads around the world through their experience in Colombia, in harmony with its culture and the locals. So we accomplished this mission through many projects. We have a lot of projects in progress right now with different partners. So maybe later we could have another webinar about all the projects that we're working on. And we're doing that with a beautiful team of volunteers that you can see on the slide. And we also have not only partners, but ambassadors. Nadia, you can change.
Yes, it's
So
a little bit of, yeah, it's a little bit slow, but yeah.
Okay, no problem. Perfect, thank you. So we could not do that, all these projects, without all these people. So thank you so much. And thank you to our partner, and thank you to César for being with us today and share all this great content, important content, if you want to get the visa in Colombia. And also César is going to answer your question live at the end of the webinar if you have questions. So this is a really generous of him. So thank you, César, for being here.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you for the introduction. Pleasure to see the people that are connected. We're going to talk about this very popular and very demanding digital nomad visa that a lot of people are interested in, given the opportunity it's given a lot of people to come into this beautiful country, enjoy landscape and the opportunity that gives. So we're going to look at some of the updates. There have been some changes, and I'm also going to give some pointers and some information that is very relevant to this type of visa. And next slide, please. So this is the team. This is the legal team from Castro and Salazar Law Group. We specialize in corporate law, immigration, and this is the team that help us. We have coverage in Panama, Ecuador. We have also a CPA, a person that can help with taxes, which we're gonna touch a little bit about related to taxes in Colombia. Certified translator for translations, and I'm the CEO, the person that's a founding partner of this firm. And next, please. This is our social media. If you're interested, you can follow us. We're always giving out information, legal advice, anything related to the digital nomad visa. We're always updating this information and giving out free information related to anything legal related to expats. So if you want to follow us, yeah, this is our social media. and you can join. Next, please. And next, please. The topics, and yeah, well, if you want one back, please. So the topics that we're going to cover is the digital nomad visa in Colombia, an overview, benefits of the digital nomad visa, requirements and duration of the digital nomad visa in Colombia, recommendations and tips to apply for obtain the digital nomad visa, how the taxes work with the digital nomad visa, experience and some testimonials. Next, please. Okay, digital nomad visa in Colombia. So let's begin. And next, please. Okay, let's talk about the digital nomad visa. It's a specialized visa permitting remote living and working in a foreign country, allowing visa holders to operate their business or job online within Colombia. What this means is that any person that's working remotely, let's say that you're working for Amazon, and Amazon gives you the benefit of working remotely. So Colombia, after all this, especially after the pandemic, seeing that a lot of countries were opening up this opportunity of remote work. So that's when they implemented with Resolution 5477 of 2022, this opportunity of a new visa, which allows remote workers to establish themselves in Colombia and have the opportunity to explore different parts of South America. Next, please. Sorry.
Maybe the presentation is too heavy. There's a problem with the
Yes,
connection, I
I'm
think.
thinking that
Sorry.
because it takes a little bit, so we need patience. But let me just continue with the next slide. So I think it's this one, the slide that you want to continue, right, Cesar? Is this one or the next
well,
one?
That's fine. No worry. Well, eligibility. Open to individuals employed, running a business, or freelancing outside of Colombia with the ability to execute their work remotely through digital technologies. What does this mean? That if you are a digital nomad that's working remotely, that you're employed directly through through an employment agreement, or you're a freelancer, you work as a freelancer through a service agreement, then you have the opportunity and you're eligible for this type of visa. Also, if you have your own business, let's say that you have an LLC company in the United States, you're the owner, you're the shareholder, and you want to take an opportunity of working remotely, because as a CEO or the founding partner of your company, you can work remotely. So we would just need some documentation to, include that type of eligibility. So in retrospect, if you're working through a service agreement, direct employment for a company, or you're the owner of the company, you're eligible for this type of visa. Next, please. Okay, key criteria. The process necessitates proof of steady income, health insurance, and commitment to uphold Colombian laws. We're going to look at the requirements, but these are the basic requirements that are going to be needed. Next, please. What are the benefits of the digital nomad visa in Colombia? We take a look at those. Well, flexible work-life balance. This visa facilitates a balanced work-life dynamic in Colombia, a country rich in diversity and beauty for remote workers. Next, please.
One second, I think it's charging the next slide.
Okay, and next one, affordable living. Colombia's lower cost of living relates to many developed countries, offers affordable options for housing, food, transport, and healthcare. So it's a great opportunity. If you're looking for a good cost of living, with the digital nomad visa, you can live in Colombia, live a very, you know, very established life, very comfortable life with the type of cost of living in Colombia. Next, please. Network opportunities. A growing digital nomadic community in Colombia opens up avenues for networking, collaboration with other remote professionals. There's a lot of co-working spaces that are being opened in Colombia right now. So this, digital nomad visa has offered this opportunity of connecting with different people from all parts of the world. Not only the United States, you have people from Canada, from Europe, and all these co-working spaces give that opportunity of networking where you can meet other people for friendship or business opportunities. So it's a great opportunity with this new digital nomad visa. And next, please. Local services access. Digital nomad visa holders are granted complete access to local services such as banking, healthcare, and telecommunications, usually restricted to tourists. So the benefit of having a digital nomad visa is that once your visa is approved, you can get what is called a cédula extranjería. A cédula extranjería is an ID card. It's kind of like a driver's license in other countries, where you can, with that ID card, you can open up a bank account. You can get cable service, and any service, any related service in Colombia. Sign a lease agreement if you want to rent. So it opens up a lot of opportunities, something that doesn't happen with a passport, for example, or your tourist permit. So with this digital nomad visa, those are the doors that are open. Next, please. Okay, in the meantime, while the slide opens, I have this one already covered. So longer stay duration. What does this mean? That, for example, as a tourist, when you enter a country, for example, with your passport, you have a tourist permit. It's not a visa, it's called a tourist permit. What this tourist permit allows is 90 days and with the possibility of extending an additional 90 days. So a total of 100 days a year that you're granted with a tourist permit. The advantage of the digital nomad visa is that you can get up to 2 years. And it gives you the flexibility of coming in and out of the country, traveling, staying in Colombia longer. You don't have to worry about becoming illegal after 180 days. You can stay here a year, 1 year, or 2 years, which is the maximum granted, and live your life comfortably in Colombia. Next, please. Okay, and enriching cultural experience. Residing in Colombia offers opportunities to learn Spanish and to engage with the country's vibrant culture, cuisine, history, and natural scenery. If you haven't explored Colombia yet, there's beautiful landscape, there's beautiful scenery that you can explore. You can engage with with different with people with different culture and experiences. Colombia is very diverse, so there's opportunities of in different parts of Colombia exploring, engaging in the cuisine, which is delicious for the people that haven't tried it yet. And the history, there's a lot of history in Colombia. It's very interesting history. So that's one of the benefits of having this digital nomad visa. They can give you up to 2 years. You can explore all this and just indulge in all the history, cuisine, and culture of this beautiful country. Well, now we're going into the requirements, duration of digital nomad visa in Colombia. This is the important part where we're going to understand the legal requirements. So the visa duration, the Colombian digital nomad visa is valid up to 2 years, providing an extended time frame for digital nomads to integrate into Colombian society and culture. So legally, what the resolution 5477 indicates that the person can get up to 2 years of this digital nomad visa. Does it always happen? No, because the law is very clear indicating it can grant you up to 2 years, but it's under the discretion of the Colombian government to give you a year and 6 months. It's under the discretion of the Colombian government. Something more important that I have to highlight is there's a lot of misinformation in regard to the digital nomad visa. One of the details that's been shared in social media is that this visa only is granted for 6 months. That's false, because the law is very clear. They can grant you up to 2 years. Normally, from all the visas that we've registered and submitted, typically it's no less than a year. Some people get a year and 6 months. Some people get a year and 8 months. It's very relative. So can people get up to 2 years? Yes, there are cases that people have got 2 years, but it's not always the case. But just rest assured that it's going to be more than the 180 days that you get as a tourist permit. So any information out there saying that it's only being granted for 6 months is false. You can get up to 2 years. Next, please. Passport requirements. Applicants must possess a valid passport from a country or territory exempted from short stay visas. So it's important that before you travel, you make sure that your passport is exempt, because there are countries that have to enter Colombia with a visa. For example, Cuba, Haiti, there are certain countries that have to obtain a visa before entering Colombia, because then they'll turn you back if you don't. So countries that are exempt, for example, Germany, the United States, Canada, don't have to ask or request a visa before entering, automatically enter with the passport and automatically obtain 90 days with the possibility of extending an additional 90 days for a total of 180. Next, please. Proof of remote work. Evidence of remote work engagement, such as a letter of contract from one or more foreign companies, or proof of foreign company co-ownership indicating remote work is required. What does this mean? The Colombian government requests a verification letter. This verification letter normally has to indicate that you are either a direct employee, that, for example, you work directly for Amazon, but you're working remotely and you make a certain amount of money. When we provide the service, we draft up this letter for you. But basically, the information that is required is that you work remotely either through a direct employment agreement or a service agreement. Maybe you are providing services to a client of yours, but the client will provide a verification letter indicating that you work remotely for them, or that you are owner or co-owner of LLC or company, an entity in the country of your country of origin, and that you have to send a verification letter or draft a verification letter indicating that you are working remotely, that you are the owner of this company, but that you are working remotely. Next, please. Income requirements. Applicants are required to demonstrate minimum income equivalent to 3 times the legal monthly minimum wage in Colombia, which is equivalent to $1,000 over the past 3 months using bank statements. This part is important because as long as you are making in the last 3 months you've made this is a new amount because last year when we did the previous presentation, it was around 795. This went up. This is a change, one of the new requirements. These are an update because what happens that everything in Colombia is related to minimum wage. Right now, minimum wage in Colombia is 1,300,000. So they relate everything to the minimum wage in Colombia. Since minimum wage in Colombia went up 12%, the new requirement is $1,000. This may change next year, for example. If minimum wage next year changes or increments, then the requirement is going to also increment. For now, it's $1,000 depending on the exchange rate, and you have to show proof of this income through direct deposit from your employer or direct deposit from your client if you are a freelancer. So you have to show the last 3 months of when you submit the application. You have to show the last 3 months making a minimum of $1,000 a month. Next, please. Health insurance. This is also very important. It has to be a comprehensive health policy that provides coverage for various risks, including accidents, illness, maternity, disability, hospitalization, death, or repatriation through the entire state is mandatory. This also changed. Their requirement, the Colombian government is requiring that you have a travel policy. It's different than Social Security or health insurance here in Colombia, local insurance. You have to have a travel policy to cover your stay in Colombia for a minimum of 1 year. And the most important part is these little details that are including accidents, illness, maternity, disability, hospitalization, death, or repatriation. A lot of people asking me, well, Cesar, I'm not pregnant. Do I have to have this maternity requirement? No. It's just in case that, if you are, pregnant, then of course you have to have this coverage. But if not, then, you just have to include the other requirements. But it's important that it's a travel policy. It can't be local insurance, local EPS or EPS, which is called the local insurance here in Colombia. It has to be a travel insurance. We have partnerships with different companies that comply and that have complied with what the Colombian government requires. We have a partnership with Assistcard and Genki. These companies have been working really well. They comply with what the Colombian government needs, and the scope of the service is really excellent in regard to their service. Next, please. Recommendations and tips to apply for and obtain the digital nomad visa in Colombia. Early applications. Begin the visa application process well ahead of your planned travel date, taking into account the up to 30-day review period under Colombian law. If you're here in Colombia, it's important that you keep track of your tourist permit time. So I've had clients that have contacted us, a week before the expiration of the total 180 days. It's important to know that we need at least 2 months before the expiration of your tourist time or your previous visa, if you have one already, to apply. Why? Because under the new resolution 5477, before the Colombian government have a week to review your documentation. Under new law, they have 30 days to review. So it's important to have enough time that you don't become illegal, because once you become illegal, there's a lot of situations. It's a snowball effect of problems because you have to pay a fine, you have to go through a proceso administrativo through the government, and then you have to get a safe conduct. So what I always recommend, do the digital nomad visa with time so that you're not running into situations that could become a problem for you. So always have at least 2 to 3 months before the expiration of your tourist permit or the current visa that you applied for before. Document preparation. Compile all session documents, including proof of income, health insurance, and letters from foreign employers. Translation of these documents is not necessary. It's important to indicate that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs makes mistakes. Unfortunately, it's a reality. Sometimes we send verification letters, and the law clearly indicates that the verification letter can be in Spanish or English. It's very clear. We've had instances where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs requires the document to be translated and apostilled, which is false. I mean, we've fought this before and we've won because the law doesn't indicate that the document has to be translated nor apostilled. So it's important to have all these documents ready. Through our service, we send a digital form so that you can upload this information. We review the documentation and we make sure that everything's compliant and perfect. So it's important to have enough time to compile this documentation and then do the proper due diligence, which we do for you in regard of reviewing all the documentation before it's submitted. Next, please. Income verification. Verify that your income meets the threshold of 3 times the legal monthly minimum wage, backed up with bank statements for the past 3 months. It's important that a lot of people, I know with these new platforms, like for example, PayPal, Zelle, they send in and say, well, can we send in, I don't know, my PayPal, invoice or verification or income statement. The law is very clear in indicating it has to be a bank statement under your name. So if you have it under somebody else's name, or if it's some sort of platform verification document, it's important that we need bank statements, proof that the employer, for example, if you work for Amazon, transferred over through the direct deposit into a bank account that's under your name. Anything else, it's a probability that it won't be accepted. So it's important that these, the minimum is you're complying with the minimum, which is 1,000, which many people can comply with. But not only that it's a bank statement from, for example, Chase Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whatever, or any bank from the country you're from, and it's under your name. Very important. Next, please. Health insurance. Obtain comprehensive health insurance coverage in Colombia for at least 1 year, preferably covering the entire 2-year duration of the visa. There are companies that we work with that can grant you, or not grant you, but I mean, they can provide the policy that covers you for 2 years. Some others don't. A lot of companies, or a lot of insurance companies only cover for a minimum 1 year. So you do it from a year-to-year policy. Anything else will not comply. For example, I've had clients that send in a coverage that is indefinite term and they pay month to month. That doesn't work because we need to show through a verification letter from the insurance company that you have a beginning date of the coverage and an ending date of the coverage. So for example, if you are staying for 1 year, it has to go at a minimum 1 year, indicating through the dates on a verification statement from the insurance provider, indicating that you have coverage in Colombia. A lot of the wording can change. Maybe the policy will say coverage, worldwide coverage except the United States. That's valid. It doesn't have to specifically say Colombia, but it has to imply that you have coverage anywhere in the world, including Colombia. So in regard to the insurance or the travel insurance coverage, it's important that it be a minimum 1 year in Colombia, and that we have a beginning and an end date for the coverage. Next, please. Legal support. Consider enlisting legal assistance to guarantee your application aligns with the government regulations, helping you avoid mistakes that might lead to a restart of the application process and extra costs. Is it needed do you need an attorney to file for your visa application? No. Does it help? Yes, because I mean the learning curve. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've never, I've always run into different situations and surprises that the government throws at me, and I'm telling you that I've been doing this for 10 years, and it's not always the same case. It's not always easy. Sometimes we have to answer back to the government. We have to send in letters. We have to send in derecho a peticiones, which is a legal action requesting clarification for maybe a mistake they made. So, I mean, for the extra cost and avoid the headaches and the trouble and trying to learn the process, it's recommended that you hire an attorney. If it's not with us, it's at least do it through an attorney. Um, it's a process. It's not difficult, but it's tedious, and if you do it wrong, if you make a mistake, you have to start all over, or even worse, get rejected and wait 6 months to reapply. So it's always recommended that you do it through, legal assistance, a person that knows the law, which is Resolution 5477, has the experience of maneuvering through all these little hurdles that the government throws at you. So, that's my recommendation. Like I said, being very transparent, anybody can do it. Yes, you can do it yourself, but avoid, the unnecessary headaches and having to start all over or paying additional fees. Next, please. Okay, I'm going to be I'm not going to go too much into taxes because I'm not a CPA nor an accountant. I'm just going to briefly cover this topic. Like I said, it's always best to consult with an accountant, but I'll give you the general information. Next, please. Resident versus non-resident. Tax obligations in Colombia depend on your residency status. If you stay more than 183 days in the fiscal period, you may be considered a tax resident and may be required to pay taxes on worldwide income. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much into this topic, but just to clarify, once you stay in Colombia more than 183 days, you become a tax resident. It's called residente fiscal. Does it mean that you have to pay taxes? No. Do you have to file taxes? Yes. This means that you have to file taxes, but not it's on a case by case situation, because many times people don't have to pay taxes. Many people, especially expats, maneuver everything through withdrawing from their ATM. They don't usually have a bank account in Colombia or assets in Colombia, so that they are responsible for. Once you start buying property, buying vehicles, then, of course, the fiscal obligations begin. Next, please. Double taxation agreements. Check if your home country has a double taxation agreement with Colombia to avoid paying tax on the same income twice. There are countries, for example, Canada. Canada has a tax treaty with Colombia. The tax, situation is different. A lot of times, people from Canada only have to pay taxes in Canada, and then just file in Colombia, and then there's a different situation that is handled because of that tax treaty. Like I said, I'm not a tax expert, not a CPA, but it's always good that if you are to always find out if your country it has the tax exemption or tax agreement with Colombia, and then consult with a specialized CPA that can guide you and let you know how you can manage this this double taxation agreement. Next, please. Foreign income. Tax laws regarding foreign income can be complex. It's recommended to consult with a tax professional for the particular Colombian taxes. Like I mentioned, it's important that you consult with an expert. After 100, if you're here more than 183 days, consult with an expert. Remember that you have to file. That is mandatory, but not always pay taxes. So consult with an expert. Let them know your nationality. They can probably let you know if you are if you're part of a country that has a tax agreement, and help you with your income tax. Tax returns. If you're considered a tax resident, you will need to file an annual tax return in Colombia. Like I mentioned, after 183 days, you become what is called residente fiscal, or fiscal or tax resident. So you have to be very careful. And once you have, this time, and then you obtain your digital nomad visa, that you are very attentive to all these tax obligations. Like I mentioned, it doesn't mean that you have to pay taxes, but you do have to file taxes. So always do this process with an expert. In many countries, you can do it with platforms, with different applications. In Colombia, I do recommend doing it with a tax expert because there isn't like a platform that you can do this. So it's best to consult with a CPA, tax expert. They do all the paperwork for you. They file for you before the entity is called La DIAN, which is the regulatory entity that regulates taxes. And then they present everything and keep everything established within the entity. Next, please. VAT, value-added tax, applies to most goods and services in Colombia. As a consumer, you're responsible for its tax at the point of sale. So remember that while you're here in Colombia and you're paying for different services or products, you are responsible for VAT. At the airport, there's the entity, there's an office of the DIAN, which is the entity responsible for taxes. You can go to this point and show them your receipts to have some sort of reimbursement of taxes. It's a long process, that I have to be honest. It's at the airport, but you can show them your receipts and receive a reimbursement of taxes. It normally takes like up to a month once you register with them. There are different stores that provide different type of tax exempt, which is a little bit more practical and faster. You have to check in every point of sale and make sure that they have some sort of sign that says tax exempt, and then they can provide more information. Next, please. Okay, this is one of our experiences. We'll skip on this one because it's an image. There should be a video, but that was for one of our presentations. Okay, and now for questions. Next, please.
So we have a question in the chat. Thank you so much, Cesar, for all this content. Would you like to answer this question in the chat maybe before the one that you put on the screen? I can read it for you if you want. Is that okay for you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's a question from Yan, basically saying, are Malaysians eligible to apply for a digital nomad visa? He's saying, as a person with Malaysian passport, I came to Colombia on a tourist visa, but I did not need to have a visa sticker in my passport, just the e-visa and then an entry stamp in my passport when I enter. Am I eligible to apply for the digital nomad visa?
Okay, as a person of Malaysian, I came to Colombia on a tourist visa. I did not need to have a sticker on my passport. Okay, well, and thank you for your question, sir. I appreciate your question. It's important to verify that you're, because I'm not sure if Malaysia is exempt from tourist visa. So it's important to check with the local authorities to verify that first. And because there are countries that have to enter with a visa before entering the country. If you enter Colombia and you have a visa or some sort of document that gives you legal status in the country, then yes, you can apply for a digital nomad visa, because the most important thing is that you are legal in the country while you're applying for this type of visa. But I would verify first with an entity that to verify if you're one of the passports that's exempt from tourists. because that's one of the requirements. So you have to have a valid passport, show that you have a valid document entry into Colombia, and have at least the sufficient time of that type of verification to go through the process, which, the verification of documentation takes at least a month. So it's always recommended to at least have 2 months. So depending on the type of visa that you were granted, if I'm not misunderstanding, if, for example, they gave you an e-visa to enter Colombia and it's, for 3 months, then that's sufficient time to be able to apply for a digital nomad visa. But every case is different, so it's important to verify first with your, with your entity to make sure that you are one of those countries that are exempt from entering with a visa into Colombia.
Thank you, Cesar. For me, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Sorry. Does that answer your question, or do you can open your microphone if you want, and maybe share your question directly to Cesar if you need any more information.
Yep.
Or you can
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much to both. So sorry, I'm still a bit confused. With a Malaysian passport, I am not exempted from a visa to come in. That's why I had to apply for a tourist visa, which lasts for 3.5 months. So my question is, given this situation where I'm not exempted, but I actually only needed the e-visa, but not the actual visa sticker, am I eligible to apply for the digital nomad visa?
Yes, sir. As long as you have tourist permit time in Colombia, which I can see that you do, and it's 3 months, that's sufficient time to apply for a visa. One of the requirements is to verify your legal status in the country, and if you enter Colombia with a visa, a tourist visa, then you are eligible for that type of visa.
Okay, thank you. Even though my country is not exempted from the need to apply for a visa.
Yes,
which is one of the
requirements is, well, it's under the discretion of the Colombian government. I mean, not in all cases do they approve visas, but the requirements indicate, or the resolution of the law indicates, that you have legal status, that you have a valid passport, a legal document that states your legal status in the country. But is it guaranteed that you will be approved for this type of visa? No, because it's under the discretion of the Colombian government. They can verify this, they can take your application, and if they see that you comply with the most important points, which is, having a valid passport, legal status in the country, and all the other documents that I mentioned in this presentation, then you shouldn't have an issue with applying for this type of visa.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question, and thank you, Cesar, for your answer. Just before you continue, I would like to say sorry for the testimonial video. I don't know if I did something wrong when I uploaded your presentation. Maybe I'm so sorry, but I can do a testimonial for you if you want, because I've been in. It's my second Colombian digital nomad visa with you, and you were of great help because I think my case was like kind of easy, but still there was some obstacles on the road, and because you were there for me, you gave me great advice, you did work for me to help me with the communication with the immigration and everything. And so even if it was a little bit stressful at some point, because of you, it became so much more easy. So thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome, Marie. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for always entrusting in me, and I'm glad that you're with us here in Colombia, enjoying your stay here.
Thank you.
And well, I have some questions that have come up through the time that I've been doing this, so maybe it could help some people to understand some of the process here in Colombia. There's 3 questions that come up a lot, and I'll answer them for you. Can I apply for a visa while I'm abroad? Yes, you can. It's possible to apply while abroad through a Colombian consulate. A lot of people maybe don't have the time of being here or are close to becoming illegal and completely reaching their 180-day mark. So what I always recommend is like, look, don't stress. We can do it through a consulate. It's a different process, but we can do it without the person having to go to the consulate or do anything. They may require you an interview. In some instances, for example, it happened in Ireland, where this person was we did the process to the Colombian consulate in Ireland, and they requested an interview. But we prepared this person. We let them know what to say, what not to say, and they got their visa approved. So can you do it through a consulate? Yes. If you're here in Colombia, remember that at least to have 2 or 3 months, so that in case anything happens, in case we need to maneuver, we can solve the issue without you becoming illegal. If you're in your home country, you don't have to worry because they don't require you to have, an entry, a visa for Colombia while you're doing it through a consulate. What answers could I receive back from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? The typical ones: visa applications could be approved, which is the best news for us. Required, which is in Spanish is requerimiento. Requerimiento means that they can request more information. A lot of people think that the Colombian government only requests the 5 points that they request for digital nomad: the passport, the entry, verification letter, the policy, and the income. No, they can request whatever they want. So through our experience, and that's why people have been happy with the service, is because, for example, they can require or request pay stubs from your company, from your employer. They can request the certificate of incorporation of the company you work for. Many things. They can request whatever they want, a certificate of good standing, etc. So that's something to give in consideration. Through our services, we answer for you. We draft the letters. We answer back to the Colombian government. We do everything. Non-approved or denied. That's the worst that we can receive from the Colombian government. When you are denied or rejected, that means that you cannot apply for the next 6 months. So you have to wait that probationary period to end for you to reapply. That's why we always, advise on getting good advice, doing it through people that have the experience of doing this. Because if you make a mistake, you do something, you have this situation where you can be denied. With the government right to exercise autonomy and discretion. This is a word that I always use. I wish I could tell you that the Colombian government will guarantee you an approval, but unfortunately, it's under their discretion. This is the typical word that I have to use that I hate using, but it's a reality. We can have a perfect application. We can have the compliant information, the policy, everything. And then the government decides, you know what, we're not going to approve your visa. Normally, it's an inadmission, and then they'll tell you can reapply. Or they'll say definitely a rejection. You can't apply for the next 6 months. What document need to be apostilled or legalized? Consider every document brought from another country needs to be apostilled or legalized, and if necessary, translated to Spanish by an official Colombian translator. This is important. Not typically for the digital nomad visa, because the digital nomad visa does not require documents to be apostilled nor translated. That's a reality. So if the government states something differently, that's false, because the law doesn't indicate that. But there are visas, for example, a retirement visa, a student visa, that requires the documents. I'm going to give you an example. Your birth certificate. Your birth certificate from your country of origin needs to be apostilled and translated by a certified Colombian translator. It can't be an online service where they do translations in the United States. No, it won't work. It has to be a licensed translator from Colombia. A licensed translator, they have a special resolution that grants them by law, by the Colombian government, to translate documents. So Google Translate does not work. You have to have it done by official licensed translator to be able to comply with the Colombian government. And like I said, it's very specific documents: birth certificate, your diploma from high school, a single status affidavit when it's a marriage visa, all these documents, or a marriage certificate if you're doing a process in Colombia. Those documents need to be apostilled and translated. Next, please. And that's it. That's our presentation. I hope this information has been valuable. I hope that it's provided some more clarity. I know it's a lot of information. And like I said, we are here to assist. I'm a licensed attorney here in Colombia. I've been practicing law here in Colombia since 2010, a long time. But, you know, I've been working to help expats. I was raised in the United States. I'm a licensed attorney here in Colombia, focused on expats because I've seen the need for expats to have valuable information, guidance, which is important, especially in regard to visas, contracts, property purchasing, everything, because the Colombian laws is very different. It's very different in a lot of aspects. So we're here to help. If you ever need assistance with legal services, thank you to the Digital Nomad Association for this space and for this invitation. It's a great group. We have this alliance, which has been great through, and the opportunity they gave us to be part of this group. And we have special discounts. If you're part of this association, if you join their group, if you join their membership, you get special discounts with us through the services. So join the Digital Nomad Association. They're great. Their information, they're always updating. They're giving a lot of information to the digital nomads that's very valuable. And they've been very kind to invite us into this group and present and to give you guys this information. So thank you again to the Digital Nomad Association. If anybody ever needs assistance, legal guidance, we're here to help.
Thanks to you, Cesar. Thank you so much for all this information, all your help, and thank you for being a partner of this association. As Cesar mentioned, as a partner, he offers a 10% discount on his service to all Digital Nomad Association Colombia members. So if you want to become a member, you can go on our website, and you're gonna have access with this membership. You're gonna have access to other discounts from other businesses in Colombia, and also for us, of course, this membership helps us to create projects to help the digital nomad in Colombia to have a great experience with locals and to grow our community of locals and digital nomads. So thank you for being a members. We're all volunteers, so this membership help us to grow all our projects. Also, if you would like to become a volunteers, or if you have an idea for a project or anything related to the digital nomad visa, the digital nomad in Colombia, sorry, you can go on our website and you can contact us, and it's going to be a great pleasure to meet you and see how we can grow this community together. Voila. Thank you very much. And see you soon.